Hey everybody, what's going on? Hellmite here, bringing you another video from Grab the Lantern today. Today I wanted to talk about Runes Reforged and just kind of cover a lot of my thoughts on the subject now that we're getting a lot more details about runes and what they're going to look like in the future. First, I want to say that I think Riot have done a pretty bang-up job on the rune rework in general. I think this is honestly a way more disruptive change than anything they've done before, even more so than adding the white camp originally, or changing how jungle XP works, or even adding the Rift Herald. I think that this is the biggest thing, and that's because everybody, no matter what game, what elo, what mode, you interact with the runes and masteries, and to have them replaced and changed is pretty significant in a few ways. First, because it's a lot harder to tweak your champion's base stats without them, and second, because with the advent of keystones, they provide your champion with significant amounts of power in the game, and you having the wrong keystone or the wrong rune setup can basically screw your chances of victory before the game's even started. So for Riot to change runes and masteries in any way, shape, or form is a big deal. Bigger than the reworks they've done basically in every season prior to this one. So first, I want to say that I think they've done a reasonable job. There will be runes to allow you to tweak base stats. Individual champion base stats will be all buffed or changed around slightly depending on what the champ's individual needs are. So just because you can't spec for AD anymore as Ezreal will get some AD back, or some CDR back into his base stats just to allow champions to work in lane. I know Ahri, for example, will be getting some base ability power, which is a thing that has never happened before. Champions don't start with AP, but Ahri will be, and probably a few others as well, to make sure that they can hit certain amounts of wave clear. It's going to be a really interesting place for us to be in. And I think a lot of the keystone runes that have been revealed so far have interesting takes on currently existing masteries. Pyrexy, which augments your allies with a bonus shield whenever you buff them and damages your enemies whenever you debuff them, is an interesting take on Windspeaker's Blessing. Meteor is a good example of how you can do Thunderlords without it just being free bonus power. Grasp of the Undying, I know, is coming back in some shape or form, so it's going to be really interesting to see. I think they've improved a lot of the old keystones. We'll be adding a lot more. I believe the current rune system going to have something along the lines of 15 keystones to choose from, split out amongst 5 different paths. I think it's going to be really interesting. There are a lot of different things that Riot are doing here, and a lot of weird effects, like the magic footwear change where you cannot buy boots before 10 minutes, but they're automatically given to you at 10 minutes, or Hunt of the Blood Moon, which gives your boots an activated ability that gives you a lot of out-of-combat movement speed. I think these are all really unique and interesting ideas. Oh, I didn't even mention the debtor mastery, where you can literally go into debt to buy items, so you have to pay that off before you can continue earning gold. It's just real stuff like that. I think Riot are pushing the boundaries of where we've been at League for the mastery system, and I think it has the opportunity to make a really interesting, cool new system for us to experiment with that will undoubtedly take a long time to get used to. I don't think it's going to be balanced on release with all the moving parts that Riot are replacing, but I do think that it will be in a better system. Now, I really wanted to make the video today to address concerns about how the rune system is going to work. Runes were confirmed to all be free following the rework. You would no longer have to pay for runes, you get them guaranteed. However, rune pages you still must buy. A lot of people on the boards especially are saying that Riot only doesn't want to make rune pages free as well because they need to make money somehow, or they don't want to refund people who bought rune pages. And I don't think that's strictly true. Now, I will say that it is a bit of a downside to not have multiple rune pages in the same way that you could make mastery pages for free, because it sucks not having that kind of flexibility. I feel like masteries, for me personally, were a lot more impactful than runes. I only ever have 2 rune pages, but I would make a mastery page for individual champions or for entire classes of champions as I saw fit, and I could swap between those. So even though I only had 1 rune page I could adjust my masteries, and that was the most important thing to me, to make sure I had the right keystone, to make sure I had the right early game setup. And now this will no longer be a thing. You only have as many rune pages as you bought, and you have to customize them. However, runes are freely customizable in Champ Select. Now, this, to me, is a bit of an interesting situation, because while, yes, runes will be editable in Champ Select, so I can get in, I know who I'm going to play, I lock them in, and then I can spend the rest of Champ Select editing my rune page, the new rune system is fairly large. As I mentioned before, there are 5 paths with at least 3 keystones, which means there must be dozens upon dozens of other runes in the system. So to reach through the system and find the exact runes, even though the system is fully editable, is kind of crap, I'll put it bluntly, because, you know, if my setup for Syndra will be drastically different from my setup for support Nami, which will be drastically different from my setup for Kled, etc., etc. And having to reach in champ select through your rune page to change everything, and then your champ gets banned, and you have to pick someone else, and you have to go through the whole page again, and then they counter pick you, and then you have to go through the whole thing again. I just feel like it's going to be too much swapping around. So even though they're fully editable, I don't feel like this is a good thing. However, at the same time, I acknowledge that Riot took out a large portion of their ability to earn money in League of Legends. Remember, League is a very, very free-to-play game. You don't have to pay for anything. In fact, you nowadays don't have to pay for basically anything to be competitive. Rune pages you can buy totally for IP. Runes you could only buy for IP in the past, but now that you no longer have to buy runes, you have that much more IP to buy champions with. My 2 rune pages probably cost me the equivalent of 2 6,300 champions. I would probably be done unlocking champions by this point if I hadn't had to buy runes. So this is significant because it means that ultimately people will be buying champions with IP more and buying them with RP less. And it also means that people also have a lot more IP hanging around. So if I really want that icon that's only available with IP, or that's available for IP for this event, I can just buy it. I don't have to put down money anymore. So I think that this was a significant change already and a significant risk to Riot. But I also hope that it does pay out for them in the future. But the point I'm getting at here is that to also demonetize or to de-IP cost rune pages would make the risk untenable for Riot. I think they want to make sure that there's some kind of control they have left, that there's some kind of IP outlet that they still have. And I can't really fault them for doing this. I really can't. I think that that's a safe option. And it does have value. As I was talking about before, rune pages do have a lot of efforts, because if I can set up a page for Kled in advance and then I get Kled in a game, I can pick the rune page I have specifically set up for Kled and then modify it as I see fit, as opposed to having to remake it from scratch every game, or so on and so forth. So rune pages, I do feel, are still worth their IP cost following the rework. I don't think that cost will be visible to most until we actually get the new rune system and people realize, I only have 2 pages. Oh no, I have to change the whole thing now. So I do think that they keep their costs, and I can't fault Riot for keeping the IP cost for rune pages and not just making them free like mastery pages were. It just makes sense when you look at it from their perspective, and I do think that they still have a value in IP. Now, that being said, I feel like they should be discounted. I hope Riot does some kind of 2-for-1 rune page sale when we start getting closer to preseason and the release of Runes Reforged. But at the moment, I feel like this is the reasonable place to go with. Anyways, that's going to be it for me today, guys. Thank you so very much for watching. I do appreciate it. Go ahead and leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and if you have any comments about the rune system or Riot's failure to de-IP cost rune pages, let me know in the comment section below. I would love to hear about it. If you really enjoy the video, consider subscribing. I upload a video every Monday, Friday, and on patch days. And once again, thank you guys so very much for watching. I do appreciate it, and I will talk to you all later.